Alright, we come to the Lion King prequel that nobody was really asking for. Mufasa, the Lion King. So yeah, Mufasa, the Lion King is Disney's prequel to their 2019 remake of The Lion King. I remember when this movie was announced, I was like, huh? As you imagine, it's the story of how Mufasa came to be Mufasa. The movie goes, Rafiki is telling the story to Simba and Nala's daughter. It starts with young Mufasa, he's separated from his family. He comes across another lion cub named Taka, and so he joins their family, so Mufasa and Taka, they grow up as brothers, and it's the story of what transpires between these two characters leading up to the beginning of The Lion King. I didn't really have any expectations for this movie, because I wasn't a huge fan of the 2019 Lion King, and to my understanding, most people weren't either, so I don't know how it made all that money, which warrants this movie's existence. And so that plus coming out against Sonic the Hedgehog 3 this weekend, yeah, that's a death sentence. Way to go, Disney. I'll say this movie was decent at best. I mean, the story starts off, Mufasa and Taka, they're kids, they're cute kids, they're getting into trouble, like Simba and Nala when they were kids, and then they grow up. Mufasa is voiced by Aaron Pierre. If you don't know who that is, you soon will, because he's gonna be Jon Stewart, Green Lantern in the DCU. I thought he was a pretty good pick to voice a young James Earl Jones-ish character. And I like Mufasa's arc in this movie fine enough. Same with Taka. The thing about him in this movie is that he's actually supposed to be the future king of his pride. So when Mufasa shows up and shows them what he's made of, things take a bit of a turn for the worse for Taka. Brotherhood turned rivalry, you see where this is going. So Robbie's also in the story, because she kinda has to be. But her place in the story, I was fine with it until I kinda hated it, for a reason that's kind of a spoiler, so I won't discuss that here. But when the movie was all said and done, I just kinda had to facepalm and be like, yeah, I hate it when prequels do this. Now, there is a villain in this story, Kyros, a white lion, voiced by Mads Mikkelsen of all people. And this is yet another case where Mads Mikkelsen kind of signs on to work to play a villain once again. Never seen that before. He's not a memorable character by any means. Unlike Zazu, he wouldn't be worth mentioning, except for the fact that I actually thought he was the funniest character in the movie. His first scene where he's introduced, I was laughing out loud, surprisingly. I don't know, there was just something about his line delivery. It worked for me. Speaking of things that worked for me, let's talk about the visuals. This is gonna come as no surprise to anyone, but yeah, the visual effects in this film are absolutely gorgeous. And I saw this movie in IMAX 3D too. This visual effects technology that Disney apparently has just seems to get better and better, which kind of perplexes me when I see the new Snow White trailer, because oh my god. But yeah, these lush pride lands, the plains, the Sahara, it's all just so beautiful. I did find myself enjoying being immersed in this world for, what, an hour 45 minutes? That was really the most gripping aspect of this entire movie. The environments. And also, building off from the visual effects, yes, the animal characters, they do emote a lot more in this one than they did in the 2019 Lion King. That was one of the biggest and most common complaints about that movie, is that the animals didn't really emote that much. They felt stale and boring. In this movie, that problem is definitely fixed, and it's great. A couple of times I was like, look at that smile. Gotta give that all sorts of props. They listened to feedback. Alright, was that enough good about this movie? Because the rest of what I have to say is unfortunately not gonna be very nice. This prequel pulls the transgression that a lot of prequels these days do, which I don't like, and that is, it explains too much. I mean, I already never asked for how Mufasa came to be the king of Pride Rock, so just from that you're starting off on the wrong foot. And some things I could roll with because they were expected, like how Taka came to be known as Scar and how he got his scar. You wanna know how I got this scar? But other things that I'm not gonna give away because they weren't shown in the trailers, but I was like, really? I didn't need to know that. It's just so lame that they gave that thing a reason, of all things. Why couldn't it have already been like that, you know? Trying to be vague. One thing in particular, towards the end, I actually predicted that it was gonna happen, and it did, and I didn't like it. I was like, let me guess. Are they really gonna do that? Yeah, they did it. Oh my god. Nah, I don't like it. If you've seen this movie, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's like Solo, a Star Wars story in that sense. I didn't really care to know how Han Solo got his blaster. Same kind of deal here, a few times over. And also, like Solo, in this movie, I'm not really buying the fact that all this stuff happened in the course of one adventure. Like all this, here's how this became this, is what I mean. The bulk of this adventure takes place over the course of, what, a few days? In just a few days' time, we get to the proper setup for the beginning of The Lion King? No, I'm not buying it. Yeah, that really bothers me when prequels do that. And at a point, I was watching the movie and thinking about the relationship between Mufasa and Taka, how they're so close and they're eventually gonna become bitter enemies, and it clicked in my head, and I was like, aw, look at this movie trying to be Transformers 1. Cause that is exactly what this movie is. I was talking about it with my friends, and one of them put it perfectly. Mufasa the Lion King is the poor man's Transformers 1. Transformers 1 just pulled that story off way better. So yeah, you want a great version of this story in animated form, like this movie actually is, watch Transformers 1 instead, cause it's awesome. Another thing this movie did that I hated was, yeah, it kept cutting back to the story being told to Timon and Pumbaa and Kiara, who is Simba and Nala's daughter. And Timon and Pumbaa in this movie, ugh. They were just super annoying. And the cutting out of the story to these guys, it happened so many times, and it was always unnecessary. Yeah, it was just filling out the runtime, letting the clock run. And they weren't funny. It's like they were shoehorned into this movie for whatever reason. Easily the worst aspect of this film. Now, touching on the music, because The Lion King is a musical. Quite a few musical films coming out in the last 2 months of 2024. The songs here, they were actually written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, which is why he couldn't work on Moana 2. But this soundtrack and I are gonna have a complicated relationship. Cause some of the songs, the ones that actually sound Lion King-ish, those were good. Others were forgettable, and a couple of them I actually just straight up didn't like. The worst one being the villain's song. Man, that was bad. No, seriously, I was watching this song go down and I was like, Lin-Manuel, really? You're better than this, man. That was a letdown. And the score, I mean, it's a Lion King score. It brings back those classic Hans Zimmer themes because of course it does. It has to. We got Lebo M singing. It's a great score. So in the end, Mufasa the Lion King, I was let down. It's an awesome movie to look at, that's for real sure. In fact, it would be a really fun video game to play or some experience at Disneyland because it's beautiful. The characters are good, the writing is fine. But the movie as a whole is unnecessary. The phrase that sums up this movie perfectly is no one asked for it. Cause it's true and the songs weren't that great. For Mufasa the Lion King, I will say, wait until this movie's at a matinee price, then go see it. Cause if for nothing else, those visual effects, they are worth seeing on a movie theater screen. I gotta acknowledge that. So Mufasa the Lion King, have you seen it yet? What are your thoughts on it? And what's a prequel to a Disney movie that you would like to see? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go play some more Astrobot. I'm so happy it won Game of the Year, cause man, that game is addicting. Peace!